We're live. So good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. This is the Belizean Affairs Show number 165 for Monday, 8th of July, 2024. My name is Leonard Brackett. Uh, we'll just kick off the show temporarily. We have the chairman in the background working on some technical stuff for us. So we'll just go ahead and say the prayer and do the reading. Mr. Wade will do the reading for us, who is our next panelist. And hopefully by then the chairman is available. Otherwise, we'll just banter around a little bit until he's available. For right now, then I'll just close my eyes for a minute or so and say a short prayer. Thank you very much. Divine loving Father, we come before thy presence once more, asking that thou would continue to have mercy upon us, that thou would continue to guide and protect and bless us. Give us help, courage, strength, perseverance, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and also give us the opportunity to be patient as we try to produce a program that is worthy of our listeners' time and effort, and that whatever we do may accrue to the well-being and benefit of our country of Belize. These best to our family members, friends, and loved ones wherever they are. You know them by name and number. Bless our country of Belize, its people and leadership. Bless this country of the United States of America and its people and leadership as well. We pray that thou mayest bless the rest of humanity, merciful upon those people who are suffering from wars and hurricanes and tornadoes and all manner of disaster, whether it be man-made or of nature. We pray that thou mayest continue to be with us now and always for Christ's sake. Amen. Back to you, Mr. Wade.
Thank you, thank you, Leonard.
You're welcome, sir.
It's always a pleasure to be in your company, and thank you for that. Not nice prayer that you bless us with,
You're welcome, sir.
and like you says that welcome to our 165th edition
Uh,
of our Belizean Affairs show. And as you rightfully says, we always start with a prayer and then a reading. I'll lead you into the reading here, Leonard. People both at home and abroad. I continue on Mark. Let's see, 22 to 32 says, "For false Christ and false prophet will arise and perform signs and wonders to lead astray, if possible, the elect.
The police didn't
But
find out about it until June.
but
but be on guard. I have told you all things beforehand. But in those days, after that tribulation, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will be falling from heaven, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. And then they will see the Son of Man coming in clouds with great power and glory. And then he will send out the angel and gather his elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of the heaven. From the fig trees learns its lesson as soon as its branch becomes tender, and put out its leaves. You know that summer is near. So, also when you see these things taking place, you know that he is near at the very gates.
amen.
Truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. But
Amen.
concerning that day or that hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. That's my
Amen.
reading from Mark 21 to 20 to 32.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wade. We have the chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Gregory
Chairman.
Brackett, live with us already, and so we'll just proceed to turn the show back over to him.
Good night,
Yes.
gentlemen.
Good night, sir.
Good night, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Wade, for your reading. Good night to the people at home and abroad. And I want to thank you for tuning in to this 166th episode of Belizean Affair.
Thank you.
Tonight will be one of something very different from most nights because I really want to show you, the people at home and abroad, the blatant disrespect that happens when we deal with past and present government who consistently violate one's constitutional rights and resort to bastardization of our constitution. Now, we all know that recently, because of an incident that happened in the Cayo district, that the Minister of Police wanted to change the law. He wanted to put some preventive measures that will kind of take away from the rights of the Belizean people and the media. And on one of our past shows, we heard the Minister of Education spoke about it and the concern he had when it came to the constitutional rights of people and press.
Hmm.
We also heard what Mr. Bradley, the former mayor, had to say about it and how he wanted to see the draft to know exactly what the Minister of Police was speaking about that he wanted to do. So, with that said, gentlemen, I will go to a tape with the Minister of Police and then I will come to you guys for your opinion. Let's play the tape.
It is in absolutely no way any attempt to try to muzzle the freedom of the press. It is instead aimed at protecting witnesses. And so, as we move forward with a first draft of this legislation, the media, members of the media, yourselves, will be consulted. We will have a very wide consultation process to receive your input, because even when I sat down with the media in the first instance, a few of you were there was a recognition by members of the press that certain cases in which witnesses say, you know what, I don't want to be identified as the individual who made a statement. I don't want to be identified as the individual who shared critical video footage because it may have come from my house. Those individuals deserve protection. And so there's a balance that we have to strike. And I think that moving forward, that is the direction that we're going, that if certain individuals, when they attend the police station to give information or to give a statement, they require protection, then in my opinion, those individuals deserve to be protected.
Now, gentlemen, you heard what the Minister of Police had to say. In my humble opinion, I do not believe not one word of what he's saying. I believe that he changed from what he was trying to do because he was told about the constitutional rights of people and press. That is why he has changed it to now protection of witnesses. Mr. Wade, let me go to you first.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And Leonard, in my humble opinion, right? Like I think I've said this before. These guys are after something. They're after something, and we could assume, but guys, I want to ask: don't we already have witness protection? They had passed that law maybe few years ago in the Dean Barrow administration. I could remember, right? So here he comes again talking about now the broad net that he's throwing out there, but he is narrowing it down to witness protection, right? But you know, I think that the way these guys are bastardizing our constitution, right? Um, Belizean need to take heed, right? Because we already see the unconstitutional laws that these guys are passing, and the pain they are inflicting on regular Belizean, right? So in my humble opinion, Mr. Chairman, these guys are up to no good, right? No good. And I could go on and go on, but I hope the people at home and abroad listen exactly to that tape that you played there, Mr. Chairman. I will not belabor the issue. Go ahead. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Mr. Brackett, let me hear your opinion on the tape I just played.
I'll follow and agree exactly with what you said earlier in your preface to the tape, and I'll agree also with what Mr. Wade has just stipulated. By piggybacking on both of you, to say, in my own words, as far as I'm concerned, whenever these jackals, hyenas, and vultures and vampires come to us, pretending that they come to show us their teeth, pretending that they want to do us a favor, as Mr. Wade said, we have to
Yeah.
take caution because it's very likely that they have no good intentions towards us
None whatsoever.
based on their track record, their past experience, and for us to now believe that they're changing what they're attempting to do and wanting to be helpful to us by overriding our constitution with bogus laws that violates our basic civil rights and other inalienable rights unto itself speaks volume, which is to say, fool the talk, but they not fool the outside to listen. Because whenever they say one thing, they always go back, and whenever they write the rules or regulations or whatever is it that they put together, always end up with the opposite intentions and result after it's already put in place. Then according to them, the people must accept those bogus, unconstitutional laws as being good enough because they made it and they have the power to make laws. But they fail to remember that the laws that they make must come within the constraints of the Constitution. Once they go outside the bounds of the Constitution and make these bogus laws that violates people's rights, the laws themselves that they make then as substantive laws do not then trump the Constitution because they are made contrary to good governance and in violation of the Constitution. So when the Constitution speaks to that type of behavior on their part, it says that those laws are to be considered null and void. They can just as well use the power vested in them to make laws, to make constitutionally correct laws. that fit within the bounds of our constitution, with which they are supposed to then be able to govern and probably get the same outcome that they probably are hoping to get. But because they have a super majority, they feel like just about anything they do is welcome and nobody could challenge it, or nobody should be able to tell them nothing else, or nobody should get into their way or encumber their desire to be scofflaws. They're not the one affected by their scofflaw behavior or the bogus laws that they make. It's other people who don't have money to fight the government deep pocket that end up getting hurt.
All
Because
the
then the
time.
police go out there under false pretext, under the color of law, and pretend to be implementing these bogus laws that the legislator make, that they, the police officers, then believe that they're empowered to go ahead and implement. The commissioner wants to change the situation. He go and he speaks to his minister, that is his boss, and his minister go and speak to members of cabinet, and they get together as a scofflaw cabal, make these unconstitutional laws, and put them on the book only to be used not against everybody, which the law is supposed to be used. Everybody under the Constitution is equal according to Section 6 of our Constitution. So everybody is supposed to be treated equal. Nobody is supposed to be given any favors. Nobody is supposed to not be persecuted because they are ministers or they are friends of ministers. And only people who are not friends of ministers get persecuted and or get these bogus law used against them. And they don't have money to hire lawyers to fight. So some of them sit in jail there until the court case come up. They probably lose their job by the time the court case come up, only to be told that, well, they're not going to be persecuted because either the police officers that arrested them initially didn't do proper investigation, or maybe they brutalized them, which means that then they can't prosecute them. The court throw out the case, or the DPP decided not to prosecute them. And for that reason, we have, like, I think probably 3 to 5%
3%. Yeah, you're right, Leonard. 3 to 5%.
When are we going to get a higher percentage of convicted criminals? If these people are really criminals. When the real criminals that they get and they pull into the police station, they don't treat them like that. They don't beat them down. They don't put them in jail. They give them, they let the lawyers come in and get bail for them and send them back right out there again to go terrorize the general population again. So as far as I'm concerned, like Mr. Like Mr. Bradley, Attorney Bradley said, he wants to see the draft. They will not let him see that, let us see it, or let nobody else see it, because they don't want to be criticized or obstructed in their endeavor. When in fact, anytime they want to put a law in place, the public must be appraised of what is it that they're going to be facing as a consequence of these laws. So the people should be informed. It is the people's business. They shouldn't just go and put laws together and whatever the consequences, people must have to suffer from it. I'll
So
yield back,
sad.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
You're welcome.
But I have said this on more than one occasion that these people always do what?
Tell
They
them
tell on
themselves.
themselves all the time. They tell
And
on
I'm saying
themselves.
this for a reason, a very important reason. Because I believe the law that he had wanted to pass was for people to stop show certain incidents that take place, especially where police officers are involved.
Mhm.
I believe that is what it was.
That's the agenda.
I believe that this whole scenario came about after they were caught in the San Ignacio issue. And
Which was one
Caught
of the
red-handed, Mr.
Seven
Chairman. Caught
used
red-handed.
Brackett Channel 7 made them look bad.
Bad, yeah.
So now he started to present this. But Mr. Weird, you asked a question, and I want to prove it right here and now. What you say, and to show the people at home and abroad how these people go about trying to abuse their authority, continue to bastardize our constitution, and try to make laws to silence the public. Mr. Wade, you asked for it. Here it is. In 2023, under this administration, sign number 20 of 2023, the Witness Protection Act was passed. Here it is. So now you want to go back
Wow.
and say you're making a law to protect witnesses when you don't have the Witness Protection Act. Let
Bogus
me hear you,
resolution.
Mr. Wade.
My brother, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for showing the evidence. That's the evidence right there. Now, my question is again, what guys, what is this guy and this administration after? What is their, you know, they are, like, we know that they after something, right?
One word, Bukele.
Right? What, you know, it's so sad to see how, like you
Crazy.
said, Mr. Chairman, how they bastardized our constitution
Mhm.
with nobody, Mr. Chairman and Leonard and my people at home and abroad.
Nobody called them to account. Huh?
Exactly. Right?
Well, Jews is trying. Jews is trying. We gotta give him
So,
kudos.
but my biggest fear, and I will spill it out there, that they will come and knock at Mr. Wade, wherever I'm at, where they know I'm at in this country, and say, you know what? You under arrest, you know, because you just said this about Briseno, or you
Mhm.
just said this about the police minister.
Mhm.
And, you know, we may pass one law saying that you can't talk about them, man, yeah, man. So let's go. Now you see the predicament and the situation that they are going to put people like myself now in, because that is what they
That's
are
what they're
leading
after.
up to, you know.
That's what they're
I
after.
might be wrong, because people like us, we are calling them out too much. We dey catch the wrong, we dey catch the mistake, we dey catch the things that where they do to the people. We dey catch the corruption, we dey catch the things that when they should never they do.
Mhm.
And with this, and then we dey
They don't
call
like.
for some
They don't like
drastic
that.
measures.
They don't
We dey
like that.
call for some drastic measures to be had. So I think their mission is geared up to people like us, right? And it's going to come.
Mhm.
It's going to come. Every time, Mr. Chairman, you see the one that they pass that you can't say certain things about one politician, and you can't, and if one policeman pass 100 yards and then hear you they talk about this, then could come and arrest you. That how much is the fine now? It's like 5 years imprisonment. They
It's
pass that,
it's
yeah, then
illegal.
they say, you know, then they pass that to protect the police, then they pass that to protect public servants, and la la la, and blah blah blah, and to the end, protect politicians, right?
But the whole law was illegal, Mr. Wade.
That's exactly what I'm
It
trying to say.
started.
Is but they use us, the public, like then they do us a favor, like you says there, Leonard. Then they use all this thing like then they protect we. when in fact, I will say it,
Yeah, man.
where everybody know, then they give us the bukut, right? That's the way we know it by, right? And at the end, who will suffer? Because Mr. Chairman and Leonard and my people at home and abroad, we not got the money to take them to court, right? They were last week in a court. So we in drawback because then we not got the money to take them to the next level for what they do to me, right? Because they will use the court system against me. So I will not have the money to every time to go look for a top-notch lawyer to hold them accountable to every step. So they continue to do what they are doing to us.
Mr. Wade, in addition to coming to get you, they will come and brutalize you physically,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then they pretend that you are resisting the arrest,
So
and that will justify
exactly.
your beat
So
down.
to close off, Mr. Chairman, you know, these
Chancy,
people
chancy.
are up to no good. And like you rightfully says there, Leonard, because they will come and do me something. A man like me will do me something. And then maybe all our way probably end up to not come out of my yard. We all lay flat down on the ground here. Because what they would do or want to do, and maybe what I would do,
Instigate.
maybe what I would do, right? So it's leading up to no good, Mr. Chairman. I'm telling you, right? These guys, every week, they come with some kind of bastardization of our constitution, some kind of law to infringe on our rights, our basic rights, God-given rights, our constitutional rights. Day by day, they are infringing on that. And a lot of us will not take that lightly. A lot of us, I don't say everybody, I say a lot of us will not take that so lightly.
Could
Back to you,
include me.
Mr.
You could
Chairman.
include me us, Mr. Wade.
Thank
You could
you,
include me
Mr.
Say
Wade.
it.
us.
Thank you, Mr. Wade, and well said. But I am not here on Belizean affairs just to speak without trying to educate my Belizean people at home and abroad on the affairs that are taking place in our country. And we are not here to let them hear these things from just our mouth. Whenever we speak about something, I always try to have the proof that is in the pudding so that the people can see that it is not just our concern, but there are other individuals who feel the same way and knows the direction that the government wants to take the country.
Colleagues this morning. Madam President, the NTUCB has a few concerns regarding this bill before us. And while, as everyone has said, I support the comments made by my colleagues, we feel that we are moving away somewhat from using or requiring proof for some of these things. When we are looking at, for example, you can be held accountable if I hear that you say something or you say a bad word, as we call it, just by those persons, indicating that they heard me say these things. That can be problematic for me as an individual. That is the view of the NTUCB in terms of reviewing this bill before us, and we feel that while we understand the purpose of the bill, and while it is that we want to ensure that we are not encouraging our citizens, threatening others and doing all of these sorts of things, we have to be very careful that putting this portion in here is not going to affect people's right in terms of your right to freedom of speech. And that's a huge concern for us that we share as it relates to this bill. again, Madam President, we do understand that we want to have a society that is disciplined, that has certain behavior. But there's a thin line here when we include these words such as, whether directly or within hearing. That may create mischief. Because, for example, we were discussing that, let's say, for example, a police officer were to, hold you for something, in the process of arresting you for something. And maybe somebody else is shouting at you or telling you something while you are being transported, and, you may utter profanity. Might not be to the officer or about the officer, but it might be just that you're speaking to the other person who might be around. The NTUCB feels that can create some unnecessary issues. And so I think, again, the essence of what is here is supported. However, I think that this portion of this bill will create some issues in terms of people's freedom and people's rights. And so I don't know how we can look at that. In relation to the categories listed, yes, we do support those. I'm not sure about the elected official, because that's another matter again. How we view that and what it is that we are trying to, is it that we can no longer say certain things to elected officials, when we feel that they are not doing what they ought to be doing, because you have to be very careful what you say and how you say things, because you can be in trouble as well, right? And it's not just, we're going to be charged something, right? It's conviction to imprisonment for 3 years. So as union leaders, we all know that we are often in this back and forth, especially with government officials. And sometimes things do get heated. And if it is that, we tired of Ms. Smith, and tired of Ms. Smith, they put me to shame, and Ms. Smith putting things out there about us as a union leader, we'll deal with her now to utter these words. And I heard you say these things, so let's go. 3 years imprisonment, you can't do any more union function. So those are the concerns that we have, and we are to ensure that, in putting things in place, we don't infringe on our rights as Belizeans, as given to us by our Constitution. Thank you, Madam President.
Now, gentlemen and people at home and abroad, from back then, the present government has been trying to violate Section 12(1) of the Constitution, which gives you freedom of expression and association, and to communicate your thoughts with any other individual. I go to you, Mr. Brackett.
Can I read it, Mr. Chairman?
Go right
For
ahead,
records
sir.
and for people to hear exactly what you're saying, as is written in the Constitution. The Belize Constitution, Cap 4, Part 2, Section 12, as you indicated just now, and subsection 1 reads as follows. We have been reading these things over and over and over many times in the past, and we keep doing it because we believe that the people, the more they hear it and the more they understand it, the better position they are be in to be able to defend themselves and their country. So it's just a part of the education process that the PCC should have been doing, and they're not doing, and we are just trying to step in the breach and do the very little bit that we can. I'll read. Except with his own consent, that means the individual, whichever individual it is, a woman, a man, it says a person shall not be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of expressions, including freedom to hold opinions without interference by the government, freedom to receive ideas and information without interference from the government, freedom to communicate ideas and information without interference from the government, whether that communication be to the public generally, as we would be doing here right now, or any other media format or newspaper or whatever that's trying to address something to the general public, whether the communication be to the public generally or to any person or class of persons, whether it be a politician as a person or the cabinet as a class or group of people or persons, which is what Mr. Chairman just stipulated that they're trying to stop us and stop people from doing, criticizing them for their shortcoming. That's prohibited under our free constitution. But then one go make bogus laws. They say, oh, then they just try doing a certain thing here. They're not the constitution and try tamper with. They're not try, these scarf laws. They come up with all kind of excuses. They end up doing the very same thing that the constitution tells them not to do. I will finish read. We just have another 15. Whether the communication be to the public generally or to any person or class of persons, and freedom from interference with his correspondence. That's it, Mr. Chairman. I yield back for your further comment. I was just trying to read it out of the Constitution so people could hear it again and again and again, and as often as we get an opportunity to keep educating more people about
Thank
these.
you, Mr. Brackett.
You're welcome, sir.
I am
Thank
glad
you
that
for
you
giving me the
went
privilege
through it and read it so that the people can hear it for another time. But this is what these people are trying to do. Now, I don't know how much of our people at home is familiar with the word plain view doctrine. I'm quite aware that Mr. Wade might be and the people living in the diaspora as well as you, Mr. Brackett.
Definitely,
Now,
sir.
what is that? It stipulates the freedom of one's right constitutionally. And what it expresses is that you have the right in public to take photographs or video of anything that you can see in sight without restriction from the government. Again, that is what it is saying. Now,
Mr.
to
Chairman,
go back to the law that was, go ahead, Mr.
before I
Brackett,
go forward, can I add one little comment to what you just stipulated?
go ahead,
While that
sir.
principle and precepts in law exist, just as you stated it, there's also the corollary to it, which is to say, yes, you have that freedom that anything in sight or visible, you have a right to observe or to record, whether by picture or whatever form. Especially now in modern era when we have with cell phone where we could take pictures immediately and communicate it back and forth to each other. That's one of the things that they were trying to make the law, expand the law to incorporate, to take that privilege and that right away from you. And that is wrong. So unless you're going to go and climb over a fence, peep in at the yard and take pictures in at the yard, you're not in violation. If you can take those pictures from outside the yard without having to climb that fence or without having to violate those people's property limits. It's the same thing in public, in general public. If you're on the street and something is happening and you take pictures, the person that you take in the pictures of regarding the incident might not like it or might not wish for you to do so, but that's your right. As you stated, anything that is in public view, on public premise, in a public environment, belongs to the public. You and I, we are the public. Everybody else are part of what belongs when it says public and public domain. So while it might not be to our desire to have people record us or take pictures of us, for us to try and stop those people from taking them videos, we are then transgressing or violating their rights. All rights do not supersede the rights of anybody else. Everybody's rights is equal under the law. But they, as law ministers and police officers and minister of government, who are told by the Constitution that they're not supposed to abrogate these people's rights except with the person's consent, they want to turn around and still violate it and say that they are, as the government and with their supermajority, have a right to make laws to make it be a violation. In other words, they have a right to turn a lawful citizen into a scofflaw. But I'll leave it at that for right now, Mr. Chairman. I have a lot more to say about that.
Thank you,
Mr.
Brackett.
But thank you for letting me
And
piggyback on you just now.
I appreciate what you just have said to the people at home and abroad. Mr. Wade, I need to ask you this, being a former member of the police department, did you take an oath to the Constitution to protect and serve, sir? You did, am I right?
I sure did.
And along with that oath that you have taken, you was also trained of how to deal with detainees. Was that a part of your training, sir?
That was part of the training, yeah. That
At
was part
any
of the training.
time during your training as a police officer and as part of your training, had anyone encouraged you or have anyone ever told you it was okay once you detain an individual to physically violate their constitutional rights?
That's something you do not do. Period. Right? That is against the policy. Right? That's against. You cannot detain somebody, Mr. Chairman, and then from there you violate them. No, you got to treat them as per protocol, as per the laws of this country. But Mr. Chairman, let me just say this: we see this bastardization on a regular basis. Although when the commissioner of police try to come out and tell them, well, you know, you cannot do this and you cannot do that, and they still do it. He blankly told them that, you know, you cannot tell somebody you can't video me. You can't want to take away nobody's phone, private property. But we see it happen not recently, last week out in San Pedro, a couple days ago. The policeman attempt to
and they're not brought to account.
But what I'm trying to say, Mr. Chairman, right? These police now seem that they are not being taught. So they are so rogue out there. So when they violate someone's rights, they don't even know that they're doing it. Now the commissioner come and tell them what they can and cannot do publicly. But that shouldn't be, it shouldn't be happening.
Training school.
They should come out, pass out, and know these things. These things should be taught. Mr. Chairman and Leonard and my people at home and abroad, these things should be taught in the police training school before they come out and go and deal with the public. So you see the things that they put the public through. So sad to watch for those of us who know that it's not right. And they're passing laws now to cover them up. That is their intention. Go back to you, Mr. About that, Mr. Chairman. Go ahead.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Go ahead, Mr. Brackett.
Mr. Chairman, can I just add something to what Mr.
Go ahead,
Mr.
sir.
Wade just said? As in the instance where that high police officer, because he was high in rank, that went to them people in the house the other day, pointing the gun in at a young man's face while he was in his bathroom, and because the wife there to say they should not be doing that because that's against the law, they're going to go after her. The same guy going to go after her, rough her up, throw her down, kick her in the side to say, well, okay, what you can do about that? Do you talk or do you worse? And what came out of that? Did he get taken by the commissioner on the carpet for behaving like that? The commissioner said he never knew nothing about that. As of today, date, so many months after, so many times we have brought up that subject, it appears like there's no interest in making sure that that guy gets disciplined for his misconduct. And that's why many of them keep doing the same crap over and over. Because some of them are encouraged to go ahead and do it because those are the same ones that they want to make them feel like they're better than the bad man on the street. It's an attitude. And when it infests the police department, good officers get blamed for the misconduct of the bad officers. And nobody trusts the police anymore. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. I just want
Thank
to
you,
add
Mr. Brackett.
specifically as a
Gentlemen,
case, pointing out an exact case.
gentlemen, I want you to hear the tape. People at home and abroad, I want you to listen to this tape, and I want you to hear what this officer had to say at the end of the tape, even though he took an oath. Mr. Brackett, can you find section 7 of the Constitution?
7?
Section 7 of
Yes, sir.
the Belizean Constitution.
Uh-huh.
Gentlemen, here we go.
Kneel down. Kneel down. Kneel down.
This video shows a short clip of Sergeant Devon McKinn kicking and pistol whipping a civilian, who at that moment does not seem to be resisting arrest. While there is no video of what may have led to the cop's actions, he also curses at the detainee. In the background, those recording the video can be heard. Once McKinn realizes he's being captured on camera, he takes a menacing step forward and yells at the person behind the camera. And while there is no context that led to this detention, some media reports say that the suspect was armed. Still, if that were so, then the officer turns his attention away from an allegedly armed man to focus on the person with the cell phone capturing the incident, which is not a crime. Once the video made its rounds on social media and the cop received criticism from the court of public opinion, he issued his own statement saying, quote, "Everybody knows me. I'm a very cool person, but don't get me the next side. Police got shot the other day and nobody said anything. Another mother cried, another son buried. I'm sorry, I will do my job the way I think it's best for me to stay safe. Let them say whatever they want to say," end quote. The department has yet to issue a statement on this incident. Courtney Menzies, 7 News.
Wow.
Now imagine,
Wow.
gentlemen and people at home and abroad, you heard what he said. He will do his job the way he wants to do it after he took an oath. Mr. Brackett, section
Judge,
10
jury,
of
and
the
executioner in
Constitution.
one. Judge, jury, and executioner in one. He's the boss of himself.
Section 7 of the Belizean Constitution.
Protection from inhumane treatment. Section 7 reads as follows. No person shall be subjected to torture, which we saw on the video, or to inhumane and degrading punishment, which we saw on the video, or other such treatment, which we also saw on the video.
Thank you, sir. Now, let me read what section 45E of the Criminal Code provides. Okay? Section 45E of the Criminal Code provides that every person who commits an unlawful assault of any of the following kind, assault with any deadly or dangerous instrument or means, shall be guilty of an aggravated assault, and on conviction thereof be liable to imprisonment for 3 years. So you see what he just did, right? He assaulted an aggravated assault. Now let me say this to you. We
What's the
have
outcome?
an inspector who is on trial right now who had assaulted a detainee while he was in custody. I can almost say that I believe that inspector is sorry for what happened, but I cannot find it within our system. Justice Pilgrim said to Laya Salgado, there is no excuses for any criminal action. In my own words, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Now, if an inspector who committed that assault is on trial, and here we have another showing not only assaulting, using his service weapon, and you can hear it click when it made contact with the face of the gentleman who was detained.
Could I end up shooting a gentleman and then I say, well, he never mean to?
The question is now,
Crazy.
should there be an excuse for that, or should he not be charged and taken to court just as the inspector was charged?
It's
I
not
go to
happening
you first,
often enough,
Mr.
which is why they keep going on like that. They feel
I go
immune.
to you, Mr. Wade.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Back to what I have just said, gentlemen, my people at home and abroad. You know, these kinds of action shouldn't happen. Like I say, you want to become a police officer to protect and serve this country and the people. There are laws in this country that governs your action. You mentioned the criminal code there, Mr. Chairman. I was taught by one of the best in this country, Mr. Adolf Lucas. Went on to be judge, retired. Now he taught me criminal law in the 70s, right? So I don't know what changed from the 70s to now. I was taught police duties by one of the best, some of the best, Carmen Zetina. Mr. Bernard passed away. Same thing then, same thing now, right? So I'll make a long story short. You mentioned what happened to the inspector and what should happen to this police, whether he just passed out yesterday that did that mayhem in, I call it a mayhem in San Pedro, right? He should have been arrested, charged, taken to court. And I yet to hear from the commissioner of police, right? I yet to hear from him because what he did, he shouldn't have done that at all. The situation didn't warrant his action, right? Whatever he stated in his comment speak for itself. Is that the kind of policeman that we want in this country?
No.
And to protect and serve our people and country? Is that the kind of policeman we want walking on the streets? I say not at all, right? And he should be dealt with to the full extent of the law, because that individual is a very rogue, the word rogue policeman, okay, have no business in our uniform. No business at all. That's my opinion as one who had served this country in that capacity, but not the way he did it. It's all wrong what he did. And I'll say this, Mr. Chairman and Leonard and the world, Belizean at home and abroad. Do you know that they will try to justify the action of that policeman? That's,
Thank you.
I've seen it happen.
Mr. Wade.
might happen again. Back to you, Mr. Chairman. So
Thank you,
sad.
Mr. Wade. Mr. Brackett, before I go to you, because I want to hear your comment, there is a saying, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. This is someone's son. What happened if that weapon would have went off? Let's listen to what a mother had to say about what happened to her son.
Did your son authorize an attorney to go into court and drop the case?
I can't speak on that, but I can speak on the fact that as far as I know, my son will never drop this case because all he wants is justice. And I keep telling him that although there's a lot of people that a lot of injustice has happened to in Belize in regards to police and police brutality, I still have a little bit of faith in our justice system, and I'm still of the belief that there are still good people in that justice system and that justice will prevail. And as far as I know, he told me, Mom, I'm not going to drop the case.
Mr. Brackett, I go to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And the lady was correct. His son was correct in not wanting to drop the case, even though these rogue officers would try to charge them for some other trumped up charge. Or I'll tell you something that, well, it's not a secret, so I'm going to say it outrightly, because some of these police officers themselves are members, not of the police gang only, they are members of the outside city gangs them, or their family members are members, or their friends are members, and they go and curry favor and do work under the banner or pretext of police work under the color of law on behalf of some of the same rogue high up criminals them. And they have some of these criminals commit crimes for them as well, so that they can have the crime committed on their behalf, but not with their fingers being exposed. So, if anybody in the police department thinks that I'm besmirching them, there are remedies to besmirchment if I'm doing it incorrectly, or if I'm saying something that is not so. But what I'm saying is exactly what happens and has happened in more than one occasion. We have police officers that are on the payroll of gang members and foreign interest people as well. Some people in Belize know that, others may not. And some may say, okay, well, we don't believe that that is possible or that is correct, because none of these officers in their right mind would want to put their career that they work so hard to develop on the line. But I'll explain to you as well the background from where I'm coming from when I make this statement. Money talk. Okay? That's as far as I'll take it. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. Now I want to change the topic and go to what I call an unconstitutional state of emergency. But I don't want the people at home and abroad to think that I'm just saying this with no substance behind it. So, as I said, these people always tell on themselves, we want to hear it, how after they did it, they would come right back and mention about it. Let's hear what the PM had to say.
Why is it that we have a lot of these shooting right now about these young men? Supposedly it's because about turf, about where they're selling their drugs, the marijuana. If we had legalized marijuana, a lot of that would have been taken away from them, out of their hands, because then it's going to be legal. Sometimes you need to we use the state of emergency almost like a timeout. Now this time you say, well, why 90 days? We need 90 days for several reasons, but the most important one is that it gives the police more time to investigate some of the murders that have taken place. Secondly, it gives more time to the people with mediation to be able to talk to them and try to calm them down, trying to see if we could find some kind of peace amongst them. Society is paying for not giving the proper attention to these young men when they were kids.
Society is paying because of their malfeasance and maladministration and misgoverning. That's why society is paying. They asked for the job to run the country, and they are running the damn country in the ground.
Gentlemen, I would not believe I would have heard this from our Prime Minister, who has a super majority that can create any substantive law to curb crime
without having to violate the Constitution. They could do that, right? As a matter of fact, I've said it over and over, Mr. Chairman. Sorry for jumping in, but I've said it over and over. The police have the authority currently vested in them to do proper policing work, and they're not doing it. Then they're coming up with all these cock and bull excuses and sideshow to try and justify their rationale or reasons for incompetence, or their reasons for not doing the job that they're getting paid for. They can't do the job and they want to be paid. Well, find another job and get paid and make somebody who could do the job currently, do the policing job, or would want to work under the present circumstance and do what is necessary to be done to have that job. Don't lock down the job, sit down on the job, can't get the job done, don't want to do the job, but want to collect the pay. Where we can get the money to pay somebody else to go do the job when you sit down on the job? That's craziness.
Mr. Brackett.
He upsets me, man.
Well said, Mr. Wade. Keep at home and abroad. We heard the Prime Minister said that they needed 90 days so that the police can investigate and get to the bottom of what is going on with these young men. Now, if you need 90 days to investigate, it simply means that you are violating the constitutional rights of these young men under a state of emergency. It means that when you pick them up, you were not sure if they were gang members or what crime they committed. So here again, you are telling on yourself. But I don't want to say it from my mouth. Let's say the commissioner creates us, and he goes on to even say more. It takes 6 months or more to do the investigation, but yet you're picking up these young men.
We have to understand that, one, the San Ignacio Santa Elena area is not under SOE, so please don't try to, no, you just introduce it first by saying that since the SOE, so in other words, you're trying to pull that into the SOE, which should not be. I know your intention, Jules, right? So we have to understand that as police officers, we are creatures of law. There are several things that we would like to do to make sure that criminals are placed where they belong. But we cannot do it because we do not have the legal authority.
That's why you create an SOE.
Listen, let me finish. We do not have the legal authority. And here you are speaking about that's why we create an SOE. Then when we do the SOE, you are the main one criticizing us for doing the SOE. So you need to decide your mind what exactly you want to see the police do. I would like to be Channel 7 news director for 1 week and make you commissioner of police for 1 week. And we'll see how it goes, right? On easy is the head that wears the crown, right? But just to go back to what I was saying to you, that while there are certain things that we want to get done, it is going to take a little time. I have met with the people of San Ignacio Santa Elena, I have explained to them what we're doing, and that process is underway. We're still hoping that the police station for Santa Elena is going to be completed within a 1 month time frame that we had given the public. And we'll be able to house that police station with police officers. We already got a new vehicle that should be deployed to the area by Monday for the officers to be able to carry out their responsibilities. In the meantime, we have GI3 in the area. They're doing the gang investigations, and you know that the gang investigations are not an overnight investigation. These are investigations that takes at least 3 to 6 months to be able to gather all the information to convince a court beyond a reasonable doubt that these people are gang members. In the time being, the police officers from SPU and the San Ignacio operation teams are conducting daily operations. We're detaining people for 48 hours. After 48, we have to let them go. We cannot keep them beyond 48 hours. So they are going to look for that opportunity again to do what they need to do, but we have.
If it takes you 3 to 6 months to investigate if they are a member of a gang, why are you picking them up under a state of emergency?
Like I said,
Man, you are
it's a
violating
false
their
pretext.
constitutional right. Go ahead, Mr. Brackett. Let me
False
go to
pretext.
Mr. Wade first.
Go ahead,
Mr.
go ahead.
Wade.
No, go ahead, Leonard.
No, go ahead, Mr. Wade. Mr. Wade,
No, go ahead,
I have
Mr.
to come
Wade.
back afterwards.
Sad to hear these kind of comments, you know. Sad to hear, right? I know that it's not right, you know, what they're doing and what they're saying. It's not right. Mr. Chairman and Leonard, you know, these guys have the super majority in the House, you know, right? And we see what they're doing with that super majority and the things that they're doing, right? So there's a lot of mayhem, you know, this country, but there are laws already in place. There are laws, Mr. Prime Minister. Huh? There are laws in this country, man. You don't have to go do all these unnecessary things. Oh, it takes 3 months to investigate. It takes, you know, this to investigate and that, and then a cool off and thing. No. There are laws. If you commit murder, there's a law for that. There's penalty for that. There's the way that the police should investigate and do their jobs to have a conviction. Mr. Man, if you don't know, there are already laws. But what you guys are doing, right? If you listen to this, man, this tape you play there, Mr. Chairman, man, I know make no sense at all from what that man says, you know. As because I know landed and I know smart, but I don't make no sense from what that man say, right? So what happened to these grieving mothers, these children that are left without a father, these children that have been murdered innocently, these murders that are happening? You just tap them wipe on the back and just care them for 30 days? That's how you the same, man. There are laws to take care of those kinds of crime. So forget your gang, forget you that. If you don't want gang, you don't want gang. Or if you commit yourself, so why the police don't want gang? Everybody, the organization don't want gang. Even the stevedores don't want gang. Even, man, there are laws in this country that if you, Mr. Prime Minister, commit a crime, your ass should be dealt with according to the laws of this country. Right? Not go try and make no SOE and try this. No, there are already laws in this country to arrest and charge you, Mr. Prime Minister.
And anybody else.
Or anyone else, including myself. So why putting the country through these unnecessary mayhem? Right? So I don't know, we'll just throw away those laws then. Because you know, even talk about that there is laws already in this country to
That's what they're trying to do, Mr. Wade. That's what they're trying to
Exactly.
do by throwing out the whole constitution.
Exactly. So I'm just saying that because,
Belizean Bukele.
so more and more, like I have always said lately, over the past year, we are in a police state in Belize. My people at home and abroad and around the world, Belize is in a police state. If you see the daily occurrence and what is put out there by the leaders, ministers, CEOs, heads of department. You see how that trigger down? You see what they're putting out there? We are in a police state and an authoritarian state. That's where we're at in Belize, where the ministers, whether a UDP government or a PUP government, whatever they say is law gazetted, and you will be dealt with as according to what they say, right? These ministers, these politicians, UDP and PUP. So we are in a police state, number one, and number two, in an authoritarian state, leading up to we know what it's going to be. Back to you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you, Mr. Wade. And I do agree with you, there is laws already. That is just like the new law the the minister of police is trying to do. Bring back a law that is already on the book and say he's using it for witness protection when it is already there. That is because they were caught in failure. They were failing and they did not like to be exposed.
So I just
This
a
is
quick thing here.
happening.
Give me a minute here, Mr. Chairman. Can I just come to me? Listen, if they could have hanged an innocent woman, back then,
Nora Param.
why can't they do that to some of these criminals? I'm not going to say gang because some of these criminals that commit 2 and 3 murder, 4 murder, they take 4, 5 lives, and they come in a revolving door and they're right back in society, right in our face to do another murder. So I say this: why don't you hang a couple of them if you want to curb crime? That's what one of a way to curb crime in this country. I'm talking curb crime, somebody that commit murder, willful murder, because you have different classification. I'm talking willful, premeditated murder. Mr. Prime Minister, get with your minions and talk about that. Back to you, Mr. Chairman. You might not like what I say. People might not like what I say, but it's just
about willful premeditated murder.
That's a serious situation there. It happens all the time.
The senior police officer on the pair pay a few $1,000s, and like nothing
you see
ever
what happened. Yeah.
And that is only one step. We have gone far beyond that point.
Life doesn't matter anymore. Seems like
the gangs are shooting up the police stations, and the police are not showing up to go and look after the health and safety and well-being of the civilians that they swear to defend and protect. Because they want to go home alive. They don't want to have to fight no gang war against no gang members. But yet the Prime Minister is going to go and sit the butt down at Salvador, discuss with the Salvadorian president on how to bring more MS-13 into Belize. They can't deal with them over there, so they export some of them to we. And for we Prime Minister sit down and drink one liquor or something with them, and take one bit of some kind of serum and put in there probably to help with the mindset. And we accommodate the idea that, the more the merrier. We have the lands, we could accommodate there. But the Prime Minister not figure out that not just we civilians want to be at the end of that dirty stick. Maybe he never realized that the police commissioner may get the whole shut up as well. as the police station and the police officer that was killed in Roaring Creek area there, and others who have been shot at. We don't have local Belizeans used to behave like that, but we have new identity people behaving like that. And they collect them and charge them for the lesser of the crimes when they commit. Because they claim they never do them proper investigation, so they never know the bigger crimes and if you commit, if you charge the person for. Have they gone back and collect those people to charge them for the bigger crimes? No. They want to make peace with the gangs, with the people who are actually waging the war against us. And when we tell them about their damn self, Commissioner here and talk stupidness to the reporter and tell her, Jules should I be commissioner for 1 week and make him go be the reporter for Channel 7 for a week. That's a whole asinine the man they carry on a public conversation when it comes to serious matters that he is responsible for dealing with as the commissioner. That's how disrespectful and disdainful these people are to us, the general public out there, having to be listening and digesting that kind of crap. The man is a lawyer. The years now at the point out that the man never want to be around and wanted to retire and go do law firm business, and for whatever reason, they never let him go under the UDP. The present PUP come in and try to grab a hold of him, hold her around her neck and squeeze her and kiss up with her. Instead of me let the man go. Then the man know me and they're wrong right now. They misbehave and they talk craziness like what they talk about. Long before they shut up the house, he was acting incorrectly. And we were calling him on the carpet for his misconduct. But now that they shut up the house, he wanted to tell me that he is so aggrieved that he is ready to come out here and act more rogue than they have been acting before. Because they're gonna battle with the wrong person. In other words, him better than me. We don't need no bad man that's better than the bad man to be police commissioner. Because in order for him to say that like he have to violate the constitution in order to prove himself better than the bad man. Why? They don't want to use the laws that are on the book. So they want to create laws that shouldn't be on the book in the first place, that then could harden anybody that they want under those laws. They don't want to use the present law and the powers vested in them to do policing work and collect who they have to collect. They want to use one SOE that oppresses and suppresses the general populace. They just try to haul them but go do their work when they get PFR. If they don't want to do the work, move on, get out the way, and let somebody else who are willing and ready to do the job step in at the position and use the laws to get the work done, because we have legal means to deal with these crimes and criminals. But if you don't have the people who occupy the position, have the will to do what needs to be done, then we always continue to get SOE on top of SOE, excuses on top of excuses, and no solution to the problem until they do what needs to be done. And what needs to be done is not to go there and make scofflaws of law-abiding citizens. It's to go out there and arrest the criminals that they claim that they know who they are. Do their job. How many times do we have to ask them to do that? Are we not paying them enough to justify them doing their job? I mean, let's discuss it. Let's figure out where the failures are, what the hesitation is about, and how we could arrive at a situation where the job will be done. Because we need the job to be done. Anyhow, Mr. Chairman,
thank you, Mr. Brackett.
Particular point, because
but
these guys don't have no intention to change.
As I said before, now you see what is happening based on what was said. If it takes them 3 to 6 months to investigate an individual to see if he's a gang member because they need it for the court, you mean you are literally violating their rights? That is saying they got to go down back there and sit down all that time if they don't have someone to bail them. That is ludicrous.
But Mr. Chairman, sir, can you allow me to come in back again? Um, when they collect these gentlemen and then put them in prison for 30 days, I know they want to do 90 days. It's just been punitive. Because it's not all these young men that they go and pick up under the SOE have committed crimes and or deserve to do time. You don't need an SOE to go and pick up the people that have already committed crimes. The crimes are being committed. Look at the statistics. How many murders? How many robberies? How many whatever categories of the crime you want to look at? The crimes are being committed. What we have is a failure of the system, including, as I'm saying, the police commissioner, police minister, prime minister, and all the other police and everybody else that is the authority to use the authority vested in them and the laws on the book already to do their job. They should not have the rest of the population in the country under oppression by the gang members then. I don't think Belize has become Haiti yet. We're heading there quickly. But I don't think we have become Haiti yet.
Mr. Brackett, but you can heard him say it from his own mouth. He's doing illegal detention.
Because
when you pick up somebody and they have committed no crime, and you hold them for 48 hours and then release them, that is illegal detention. You are working backwards to the Constitution, innocent until proven guilty. First, you go out and you do your investigation, make sure that you have sufficient evidence, then you go and arrest these young men. Mr. Wade, your closing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, it's always a pleasure, and we speak truth and to the nation, and we speak the way we feel and how we see it. You know, you listen to the tapes that you played. You know, I said my own, and I said, just for clarity, what I meant when I said that we are in a police state based on the performance of the police. And lastly, this last police action in San Pedro, you heard from his own mouth why he did what he did. And it seems like he is the ultimate law. That's a sign right there. And when I say as a police state, right? That's how I take that.
And he's not.
And that he's just one. So when I say that we are an authoritarian state, you know, I says, if you listen, for instance, this minister, this man, Harry Musa, police minister, if you listen to how that guy talks and the things that he takes to the house that he wants to see done, what's that is telling you, right? You ever hear they take to the house, well, you know, let's raise the minimum wage from measly stinking $5 to $10. They do not do that. Let's see if we can go and beg the diaspora. This time not for vote or go try to give them any land. We beg them so that they help us to make a factory so that we could employ people, right? Put up a factory, a canning factory. I just throw that out there. I've been saying this for some while now. Do you hear them, any one of them saying that what they want to do for the people, right? Now, two of many things that I say that, you know, these guys, my people, has not the interests of the people nor the interests of the nation. What they have is their own personal ego interests, their own interest how to make themselves richer, and their family richer, and their friends richer, right? How they could embezzle. The past government did a very good job on that, the embezzlement. This one is worse. So where are your leaders' interests? We see it playing out in front of our eyes every day. When are we going to learn? When? That's all I say. That, you know, this two-party system in this country needs to go. Needs to go. Call on the diaspora to do right. Belizean American who want to come home and do right by their country because they still have their family here who they go through this mayhem in this country. Come and put your name down. Tell these politicians when they go sit in those meetings with Uno, tell them what Uno want and stop the ride along with their stupid agenda all the time with their hands out.
Mr. Wade?
That's my
On the point
closing.
that you mentioned about the diaspora using whatever influence they have, right, to try and put pressure on the government. The problem is that some of our own family members, friends, and other people there in Belize are the ones that aiding and abetting these politicians and are against us being able to exercise our rights to empower them back there to do a better job and for us to have a better country. When we are
So
all
true on that,
investing
Leonard.
together, working together.
That's my
Thank you very much for
closing. And
letting
to
me
our viewers and
correct you
listeners,
just now.
guys, who watch us, you know, we are about out of time, and who watch us, thank you all for tuning in.
You will take my closing time, Mr. Wade. I used up some of your time just now. You could use
yeah.
up the rest of my time.
Well,
I took
like
some
I
hours.
say, you
Go ahead.
know, the diaspora, you know, you need to do better. Need to do better, right? When these politicians goes over there, we see it played out the other day. At least they coming on a little stronger to the public officers. We go over there, including the minister, some minister this and minister that, right? Go over there and, you know, tell them what we want, right? And keep the pressure up, right? And let them understand that, you know, you guys are serious, right? And, you know, I want to see better, and we all want to see better had in our country, man. But it seems like, Leonard and Mr. Chairman, that we are slipping away. We are slipping away to what? To what? The worst is yet to come. I have always said it. The worst for our Belizean people who love this country, patriarch of this country, the worst is yet to come, and we put the head on we hand and bow, right? We can continue with these hyenas and jackals that we have as leaders.
Thank you.
Thank
You,
you,
Mr.
Mr.
Weir.
Chairman. That's how I
Mr.
feel.
Brackett, I go to you.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to yield back
Yes.
my time to you, sir, in the interest of timing, for you to have a clean.
No, sir, I go to you for your closing comment. It's
No,
okay.
I did my closing just now by
Okay, thanks.
using up some
Well,
of Mr. Wade's
gentlemen
time
and
just now.
people at home and abroad, I hope that when you tune into us here on Belizean Affairs, that
And lastly, Mr. Chairman, let me put this in. That lady, the mother, the family of that person that policeman brutalized in San Pedro, I want them, that family member, to hold them accountable all the way to the Supreme Court. Please do that. Sorry about that, Mr. Chairman. Go ahead.
well said, Mr. Wade, but I also need to say this because we have some people who have a misconception about our Constitution. And I want them to understand that even the criminals are protected by our Constitution. Make no mistake. But as I was saying to the people at home and abroad, I thank you for tuning in. And we are here sharing our beliefs and our opinion of how us that sit here virtually and Belizean affair think our country should be run and governed with the aid of all Belizeans whose birthright is back in our jewel. Mr. Brackett?
Yes, sir. Please indulge me to, despite the fact that I said I had already used up my time for the closing, please indulge me to make a statement in regards to the rights of each and every Belizean or each and every person that resides in our country to be treated under the laws of the country with due care, consideration, and legitimate law enforcement practices and powers, as well as legitimate governance, rather than the bogus scarflower governance that we are having today. But as regards to people who, as regards to some of the crimes that are committed in our country, and some of the people who are alleged to have committed those crimes, the system have to step to the plate and follow through its procedures and arrest these individuals, put them through the process. They have to be given a notice of the crime that they are being charged with their charge sheet within the 48 hours. Do that. That doesn't mean that they get to have bail, especially because of some of the crimes that we're talking about. We're not talking about petty crimes, you know. What we are aggrieved about are the petty crimes, but we are much more so aggrieved about the high level of criminality in taking away and dispossessing people of their life and terrorizing the whole community. And these gang members are walking around and pretending that, well, they have done it and they can do it again. That type of individuals or people we don't need among us in the society to be let loose committing these crimes over and over and over as if there's no end to the process.
Lastly,
Too many decades.
Like I said also, guys, if they could have hanged an innocent woman, innocent woman, because of a domestic situation. But anyway, why can't they hang some of these criminals that commit willful, premeditated murder?
Okay, but according to the Constitution, we have to convict them first. The point is that before convicting them, we still are not exercising our rights to arrest them and to hold them under remand until in case go through the judicial process, and then they either get let loose as have been done so often, or for whatever the reason, make them one gang members and other people take care of them. But if they want to kill up themselves, that's all right. Eliminate themselves and go about their business. Leave us, the general public, alone. But we will not be left alone if they are given regard over the general population and the police officers are not doing their part. The DPP has a part to play, the police officers have a part to play, the judges have a part to play, with lawyers on defense and prosecution, councils have a part to play. You know, there's so many different parts. All of them are failing and falling down on their faces. That's my complaint. Most of these guys that are responsible for the major crimes then get bail for crimes that they're not supposed to get bail for based on the present schedules and statutes. But we have smart, slick lawyers that haul and pull the system and get them off for the right fee. These guys are not sitting down in jail waiting for their turn, like how some of them petty people were haul in jail for committing one robbery, or not even one robbery, sometimes for stealing one piece of food, one bun, one kind of potted meat. We have all kind of stupid cases like those where we have people in remand for a longer period of time on remand than for what the penalty for the crime that they would have been charged for would have turned out to be. Why can't we do the same crap, which is what I'm trying to say, with these guys that are committing mayhem? Why can't we penalize one person who commits a petty crime so severely and with such vehemency and with such power and authority coming down from all angles? And we can't exercise that same power of governance, you know, on behalf of the rest of the society.
All I'm saying, guys, is how can you allow a criminal who murdered 2 or 3 per you talk about convicted, you know, convicted, serve time, go spend a little time, come out, kill again, go serve, get convicted. I'm saying convicted, you know. They need to be eliminated from the society. 2, 3. Now, then you could hang an innocent woman. Innocent woman. Asylums, I'm trying to show a difference now, right? Right? They're right back in society, ready to do it again.
And
right?
Again and again and again.
So that's my
Gentlemen, well
thank you,
said,
Mr. Chairman.
gentlemen. But again,
We're at 34, Greg.
coming back to the Prime Minister talking about the way kids are growing up and parenting. Society has a role to play when you created a constitutional law and you took some of these young men who only live in these areas and trying to run away from your policemen. You pick them out, they end up with a charge. It might be being a member of a gang. They go and remand. You are helping to create a monster. Mr. Wade, kindly do the closing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Leonard. It's always a pleasure to be in your company.
Thank you too,
And
sir.
I hope that our show tonight, sheds some light of the things that some might know and some may not know of what's going on in our country. We are about people, a nation, and I hope that the general public gain some kind of knowledge from our show tonight. And on that note, I want to thank our viewers and listeners who support us. Thank you very much. May God bless you. May God bless Belize. Back to you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.